Hello everyone, my name is CyleeGardner and this is my digital presentation where I will be discussing a media analysis of the viral TikTok trend Girl Dinner. My project is titled Girl Dinner, a media analysis of femininity, food, and social influence. So, for the introduction, I do want to start by explaining what Girl Dinner is. So, this is something that started as a funny and relatable TikTok moment or trend where women were just sharing snack style meals that usually consisted of items like cheese, crackers, pickles, rather than a full, typical, well balanced meal that women would usually make for their families. It's since become more of a complex conversation around gender, body image, digital wellness, and even media influence. My essay, along with this visual representation, explores how this trend reflects and challenges those ideas about femininity, impacts our eating habits, and shapes our identities in a media driven culture. Pictured here is an example of Girl Dinner that someone posted consisting of some cheese, crackers, fruits and veggies, and a glass of wine. So, in this slide, I really wanted to include a couple of typical examples that you would see of girl dinners if you were to search up the trend on either TikTok or Instagram, as it has now migrated over. So, this first picture that you see right here is two girls having dinner together, and what they are having is mac and cheese and dino nuggets in a wine glass. That is typical. The next one you see is somebody who had a toaster waffle and they put pizza sauce on it and some cheese and then they put it in the air fryer. Also typical. And another one is looks like someone has a thin bagel, some pot stickers, they have a spindrift sparkling water and some hot Cheetos. Also typical. They're all very much easy snack kind of meals. Usually they're pretty light as well. Key concepts and some of the theoretical frameworks that I used. So, in this project, I framed the girl dinner trend through three major communication and media lenses. First, I researched a famous American philosopher, Judith Butler, and I used her theory of performativity, which comes from gender and communication studies. She explains that gender is entirely performative and separate from biological sex. So, think of the saying, boys will be boys. It's an expression that explains that boys will try to act like what is typical of a boy. This theory is what helped me interpret how media can really shape and reflect gender identity through repeated actions. Next, I drew on the author of our textbook titled Media in Society, Arthur Berger's work on media ethics. I especially focused on his ideas about how media messages, particularly in advertising and branding, can really blur the lines between what's ethical and what's considered exploitative. Finally, I use the multi-step flow model by Katz and Lazarsfeld to explain how TikTok trends don't just influence directly, they spread through influencers and peer networks before they start to shape an audience's behavior. This model really helped me contextualize how a few viral videos kind of become a larger cultural phenomenon. Femininity and cultural expectations. So, girl dinner is one of those trends that appear empowering on the surface. It's really just women sharing what they eat without apology. But underneath that very surface, it tends to reinforce societal expectations about femininity, minimalism, and body control. In some cases, it is considered a quiet form of rebellion, like a refusal to cook for others or participate in traditional domestic labor. But still, the trend tends to walk a really fine line between autonomy and aesthetic pressure, self care, and social performance. Using Judith Butler's lens again, we can see Girl Dinner as a performance of femininity where it's ritualistic and curated for an imagined audience. This performance is shaped not only by personal expression, but by how audiences online might perceive or judge this information. Even when it feels casual or rebellious, the curated nature of these posts really often aligns with beauty standards and societal expectations, which can really make it hard to separate choice from influence. Eating habits and health concerns. So, one thing that was really shocking that I found in my research is that many girl dinner videos unintentionally glamorize disordered eating. They're tiny portions that are presented in a cute or quirky way that can be really triggering, especially to younger audiences who are still not able to differentiate what is good from bad when they're both posted in the same light. Studies by Bickham et al. In 2024 and Zhu et al. In 2023 are two examples that show that trends framed as wellness can reinforce really harmful habits. Peer influencers, not experts, are what shape people and what they think is healthy a lot of times. What starts as humor quickly turns into like a feedback loop of undereating as balanced living. This section also connects to media framing, which is the way in which messages are presented and delivered to influence people's interpretations of certain things. So, what's concerning here is how these snack plates are framed as lifestyle inspiration, but really they're promoting undereating a lot of times. Social media tends to act as a frame that makes restrictive eating seem stylish or empowering, which can really skew public perception of what's healthy and not healthy. Social media and digital wellness. Girl Dinner also raises a lot of questions about identity and performance in digital spaces. Posting your plate becomes a form of content creation, which then leads to someone comparing themselves to others and going down a path of conformity. It's influencers that shape these norms, and brands often jump in to capitalize off of these things. Brands like Popeyes and Panera Bread have both released girl dinner products, which make the trend feel normalized. But what we need to understand is that commercialization does not make something safe. In fact, it can give legitimacy to harmful ideas, especially for younger audiences that are still developing their identities. And this is where media literacy becomes very crucial. Understanding who's creating the content, what their motivations are, whether it's for profit, influence, or identity shaping, can really help audiences make informed decisions about what kind of trends they jump on. Berger warns us in his book Media and Society about the ethical gray zones in modern media, especially when commercial entities exploit trends in order to make a profit without ever addressing the deeper implications and discourse. In conclusion, the girl dinner trend may seem lighthearted, but it reflects a lot of serious cultural tensions around gender, health, and identity. It shows us how trivial content can carry a lot of powerful messages. Social media has redefined how we think about food and self worth, and it's really essential that we apply media literacy when engaging with trends like these. As consumers, creators, even scholars, we need to be asking questions like who's defining what's normal or healthy these days and who benefits from those definitions. Overall, what I learned from this project is that a social media trend cannot be fully understood without media theory. Behind every plate of pickles and cheese is a system of influences, from platforms to influencers to brands to hashtags. And then understanding that system is what media studies is all about. Thank you, everybody, for watching my presentation. On my next slides is my references, and I hope that you all have a great day. Thank you very much.